Hello. In this video, I want to talk about artist archivability and the problems that I see. I guess you could say the major thing is most social media, and when I say most social media, I talk about Facebook, if I could spell Facebook, or Meta, Instagram, X, aka formerly Twitter. I cannot spell today. I can't spell, so you're just going to have to bear with me. Formerly Twitter. How do I spell Twitter? Social media like this kind of works in a way as a thing called a single page application. There are more, I just didn't mention them all. And the problem you get is how information is shown. Because of this, information is not easy to be archived, and more often than not, relies on screenshots. There have been some moves for people to make more tools to more efficiently try to archive certain things, but for the majority of it, a lot of information gets lost to time. And sometimes there's information that people may like on artists that is just getting lost to time, like within the last 10 years or so, maybe a little longer than 10 years. And it's a very concerning to me because many artists, their work and maybe their history of online and conversations they've had with people that were originally public are just erased from history. And probably a lot of people will say, maybe it's not really worth it, and maybe it's more just about the art they make. But sometimes those artists may show some of their creative process as they go. And I think it's a major issue. And the reason why I say that is because there was a time when if people were sharing stuff online, it was a bit more easy to archive it. And there are tools like HTT Track. There are other archiving tools too, but people were able to save it in a way for archivability stakes. And because you have things like single page applications, it makes archiving a lot more difficult. And I think a lot of these things are really important because there are some people who may only use Instagram, or they may only use Facebook, or they may post exclusively to Twitter, X, or whatever you want to call it. And I think when it comes to a lot of that, it's kind of like a bit of a loss for humanity. I mean, considering how, granted, many famous artists, they may or may not have made a biography, they may or may not have kept records of transactions when it came to them selling their art in one way or another. It's something highly concerning to me that I've seen. And, people have tried to make tools to archive single page applications. Some people will call them SPAs. I've made a few actually, but the point I'm trying to say is that a lot of these other platforms may force artists to only say some information, and perhaps that's a good thing because maybe I always thought that limitations to an extent are good, because if you don't have any limitations, there's just too much to say that you may never say, or you may not even do anything in the first place because you're paralyzed by all that you could say. But yeah, it's incredibly important, and I guess you could say that if there is an artist you like and you can try to archive them in some way, I do highly recommend you try it to the best of your ability, whether you're using a tool or even a screenshot or something along the lines of that. I think more often than not, something is better than nothing. I think that's an important thing to say. And I have no doubt that this will be an incredible topic for the future. There are other things like Archive It, if I could spell archive, which I can't, .org, or the Wayback Machine. But do you know that even things like these may be a bit volatile, and it could be incredibly important for people to have local versions, so to say, as a way to maintain archives of the artists that they like. Many artists do have a website. I can't say all of them, but it is kind of a general consensus that they have some website somewhere. And I do recommend that you archive that however you can, whether it be the Wayback Machine or archiveit.org, which I think are the same thing. But yeah, I guess this is a real big call to action to be aware of that. There are times when archivability is not possible. The reason why I say that is because sometimes there are times when people make so much stuff that it's not feasible to archive at all. And probably, if I had to give an example of that, it would probably be what I do, in which if I ever make instructional videos in one way or another, the amount of footage and data storage that's required of someone to archive it could take up like a hard drive. And that's kind of an issue because the second you go into people having to spend money to archive stuff, it becomes hard to do. Because I mean, you're counting on the bank account of the archivist at stake to do that, and it's a bit alarming and concerning that they have to do that. I guess it just doesn't make it easy, and to an extent, I use YouTube a lot, which I like for, and it's free hosting. Granted, they put ads in front of my videos. That's just kind of like the agreement that you go with when you host your videos on YouTube. So, yeah, these are some of the problems that I see. We no longer live in the world. I mean, there are simpler websites to archive, like specifically using ones just using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. These are just some web languages, but sometimes if more complicated web languages are added, it can be difficult to archive it, or especially single page applications, or even just web apps. It may not even be a single page application, but even like if they're using some web app, making an archive may require a special archiving program if it exists. You're counting on it existing. You're counting on some other programmer having made a tool to archive these apps, and you're also counting on no bugs arising when you're trying to archive those apps. So there is a lot to be aware of. Do be aware of it. Do archive when you can. I do encourage you, if there are artists that you like, and especially if they have a web presence. I guess I'll just say, and I'll end the video with, beware of volatile tech. Because in my experience on the internet, which has been forever, I have seen tech come and go. I have seen websites shut down. I have seen websites shut down because of an error. I've seen websites shut down because people accidentally forgot to pay for their domain name and hosting, or some other technical issue. And granted, sometimes those can come back. If the original owner of that isn't around, it could become a major issue, and it may just not be recoverable. So aware of the volatile tech, and archive when you can, if you want to, and if you can see it. But yeah, I hope this video enlightens you a little bit in one way or another. Perhaps being an archivist is an underappreciated but definitely important thing for people to do. But yeah, thank you very much for listening. If you have a question, please ask in the comments. If you like the video, please like it. And if you like my channel, please subscribe. I will say that I think the Archive It or the Wayback Machine, I think they may have a browser plugin to help you make the process of archiving web pages easier. But yeah, web pages have become so complex these days. And when I say complex, I mean like I've made a couple before, so I kind of know the high level stuff, or that's not a good way to say it. I know the tech that goes into it, so I kind of understand why this tech is the way it is and what makes it difficult to archive. But yeah, thank you very much for listening. Bye.